Some empires conquered land, others conquered entire civilizations. But behind their palaces, armies, and monuments lies a darker story. Cities erased, populations enslaved, and millions killed in the pursuit of absolute power. From Genghis Khan and Timur to Leopold II, Stalin, Hitler, and Pol Pot, history's most feared rulers believed their empires could last forever. They were wrong. These are the bloodiest empires in history, and the terrifying story of how they fell. Rome destroyed its greatest rival, but centuries later, conquest became even more terrifying. Genghis Khan turned fear into a weapon, leaving entire regions devastated and millions dead. Then came Timur, a conqueror who ordered massacres on such a scale that towers of human skulls became symbols of his victories. And these were only the beginning. Long before modern dictators, Ashurnasirpal II understood the power of fear. He publicly flayed enemies, displayed severed heads, and deported entire populations to make rebellion seem unthinkable. But terror wasn't limited to the battlefield. In China, Qin Shi Huang tried to control ideas themselves, destroying texts, executing scholars, and forcing hundreds of thousands into brutal state labor. Two empires, two very different paths to absolute control. Rome showed how brutally an empire could punish resistance. Julius Caesar devastated Gaul. Thousands of Spartacus's followers were crucified, and rebellions in Judea ended in destruction on an enormous scale. But centuries later, Genghis Khan transformed fear into a strategy of conquest. Cities that surrendered might survive. Those that resisted could disappear. Samarkand, Nishapur, and Merv became warnings to everyone who stood in the Mongols' path. And Genghis Khan was only the beginning of their destruction. Genghis Khan made one choice terrifyingly simple: surrender or risk annihilation. Samarkand, Nishapur, and Merv paid the price of resistance. Then Hulagu Khan carried Mongol terror to Baghdad, destroying one of the world's greatest cities. But an even more ruthless conqueror was still to come. Timur made terror personal. In Delhi, tens of thousands of captives were executed. In Isfahan, severed heads were reportedly stacked into towers, warnings carved in human remains. Across the Atlantic, another age of conquest was beginning. Hernan Cortés brought down Tenochtitlan, while Francisco Pizarro captured the Inca Emperor Atahualpa, demanded a fortune in ransom, and executed him anyway. But conquest was only the beginning. What followed would last for centuries. Cortés brought down the Aztec capital. Pizarro captured the Inca emperor, took his ransom, and executed him anyway. But the conquistadors were only the beginning. Across the Spanish and Portuguese empires, conquest evolved into forced labor, deadly mines, religious persecution, and a transatlantic slave trade that would endure for centuries. Mehmed II conquered Constantinople in 1453, ending the Byzantine Empire after more than 1,000 years. But Ottoman power was built on more than conquest. Christian boys were taken through the Devshirme system, rebellions were crushed, and centuries later, the massacre at Chios showed how brutally resistance could still be punished. At its height, the British Empire ruled nearly a quarter of the world, but its power came at an enormous human cost. In India, General Reginald Dyer ordered troops to fire into an unarmed crowd at Amritsar. And decades later, wartime policies under Winston Churchill worsened the Bengal famine as millions starved. Empire had a price, and civilians often paid it. Across 3 continents, imperial violence took different forms. Mass deportation under Russia, brutal colonial warfare in Algeria, and devastating conflict under China's Qing dynasty. Then came King Leopold II. He turned the Congo into his personal possession using forced labor, hostage-taking, and mutilation to extract rubber. Millions died as his private empire became one of colonial history's darkest chapters. In German Southwest Africa, General Lothar von Trotha issued an extermination order against the Herero, driving survivors into the desert. A decade later, the Ottoman Empire began the systematic deportation of Armenians. Death marches, starvation, and mass killings followed, leaving an estimated 1 to 1.5 million dead. Under Joseph Stalin, fear became a system of government. Millions died during the Holodomor. Then came the Great Purge. Arrests, torture, and executions on a massive scale. Millions more passed through the Gulag, while entire ethnic communities were deported. Even captured Polish officers were not spared. At Katyn, thousands were systematically executed, and Europe was about to become darker still. Under Adolf Hitler, Nazi Germany turned racial ideology into a machinery of conquest and mass murder. Poland was invaded. In the East, Hitler's plans envisioned the removal or death of millions. Then came the Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews and millions of other victims. From Babi Yar to Leningrad, entire populations became targets. But the killing was not confined to Europe. Across Asia, Imperial Japan created its own trail of devastation. At Nanjing, hundreds of thousands were killed during weeks of mass violence. Behind the walls of Unit 731, prisoners became subjects of lethal human experiments. Thousands more died on the Bataan Death March and the Burma Railway, while countless women were forced into military sexual slavery. And another nightmare was about to begin. Then came Pol Pot. His Khmer Rouge emptied Cambodia's cities, abolished normal life, and turned the country into a vast system of forced labor and terror. At S-21, thousands were tortured and murdered. Across the killing fields, executions and starvation followed. In less than 4 years, roughly a quarter of Cambodia's population was gone. Benito Mussolini dreamed of rebuilding a Roman Empire, and in Ethiopia, his forces used chemical weapons to make that dream a reality. In Libya, civilians were driven into concentration camps, and even after World War II, Portugal, France, and Britain fought brutal wars to hold on to their colonies. But eventually, every empire faced the same enemy: its own collapse. Every empire believed its power would last forever. None was right. Resistance, overreach, and internal decay eventually brought them down. Their empires vanished, but the scars they left behind remain. Their empires vanished, but the scars they left behind remain.